Welcome to the Freelance Tribe. Here we talk with skilled freelancers about their professional journey. Stay tuned for real life experiences to learn and actionable steps to take to improve your freelancing career. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Sam Kim, a freelance full stack developer and fractional CTO who helps creative marketing design agencies with process driven, white label development and client management services. And today we'll discuss what freelancers should start with if they decide to become agency owners. So, welcome, Sam.
Hey, how's it going, Yuri?
Super happy to finally talk to you. I know that you're a 5am club member, and it's a lot of in common between us. And I really, really love to learn from your experience. But let's start with the first question. So, first of all, when we hear the word agency, different people may think about different things. So, what's agency for you?
An agency, it doesn't really differ much from freelancing slash, somebody that really is focused on providing a service, But the difference, I think, an agency is from others is they have a process and a very focused service offering that, they have for their clients. And particularly, they are really process driven, I would say. Yeah. That's like the main differentiator with agencies is they're really process driven.
Sounds like very organized freelancer.
Yeah.
So, what are the first critical steps a freelancer should take when deciding to start an agency?
Yeah. So working with quite a bit of different, sizes and variety of teams from different agencies. Um, the first step I think a freelancer must take is, again, processes. So, when dealing with any sort of projects or clients, I think not having a process really differentiates a freelancer and an agency based on how professional they can be. And really that really trickles down to how much they can charge, how many clients that they can they handle, and overall resulting into how much they can grow as an agency. So I think the fundamental difference or the step in order for anyone to become or taking that role of building an agency is just having processes.
It's interesting because I recently was having, I don't know, out of the last 10 podcast conversation or something like that, at least 3 or 4 people were talking about processes as for freelancers themselves. And I feel like they're really, really close to start their own agency. But who knows? We'll see. So let's dive into processes. So, what processes are essential for ensuring smooth operations during the early stages, during just the very, very beginning of building an agency?
Yeah, so I think at the very first and foremost, you need clients, you need work, right? There's no business if there's no input in terms of, whatever it is, right? So, the way I look at it is how do you get clients, right? So what is the first, what is the steps you need to take to ensure you're constantly getting those projects, clients? So, my main kind of step, I'm not an agency myself, but, if I were to start an agency, it would be kind of nailing down how do I make sure I can get clients recurring, when I want them? How do I have control over the influx of work so I can actually scale this to however I want, right? So I
Yeah.
think that process for me was really drilling down kind of step by step. Where do I get my clients? What is a churn rate for my clients? How do I make sure I can retain them longer? What is the different steps I need to take in order for me to turn a short-term client into a long-term client? So having all those different processes allows me to really focus in on each client and maximize the kind of relationship.
So it's the first step, understanding that you have clients and knowing how to deal with them. So what will be the next process?
Yeah. So after you develop sort of getting the client, finding, where and how, it's more of how do you offer the best service at the best kind of um, at the best level of output you can. So by that I mean, how do you deliver? My background is WordPress development. So as a developer, how do I deliver the best work? Is the work that I'm delivering in a process way, or my clients able to trust me? Clients really trust processes. They don't trust deliverables, right? So the thing to kind of watch out is like, if I have a really good process in order for me to deliver projects in a very efficient way, the trust will automatically come, and that will make sure that client is happy. So my steps are very, very simple. The first one is getting the client. How do I get them? Second is how do I make them happy? And then third, how do I make sure they're consistently happy so they can just keep coming back?
So, usually freelancers are wearing many different hats. As you've said that you are a developer, so basically you are having at least one developer's hat. Then you have to have a sales hat. Then you have to have a personal branding hat. So I'm curious, what are the essential roles in the agency?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So you really covered the bulk of it, the most of it, right? So development, that's my background. So that's the service, right? So if I was the designer designing, that's my service offering. I think having that main sole service offering, and finding a process on how you can alleviate from that will allow you to really scale. So if you're a developer, what really differentiates that freelancer from an agency is that developer able to take himself away from the work that he's doing and able to delegate. So being able to delegate the work to others and building a team. So first and foremost is finding someone that can do the work that I'm doing so I can focus on scaling. And then the secondly would be, how do I make sure branding, design, content, what I'm getting out there is professional. So if I'm not a designer, I need to make sure the content that I'm getting, I need to hire someone to make sure what I'm putting out there looks great, looks branded. And from what I can see, it would be, one, the service offering, and then second, a designer or someone that can really focus on making your brand look professional.
So basically, you are, as a freelancer, you are turning more into managerial position.
Exactly. So I think that's what really happens when a freelancer turns into an agency. So that's what kind of kept me sort of away from going into an agency and working with agencies, because I love the work that I do. I love the development. I love the kind of nitty-gritty part of, development, right? So what really differentiates sort of that freelancer and an agency is an agency owner really thinks of it as a business more than sort of a skill and a service. So they treat it more of like, this is a business. I need to substitute myself out of this. I need to be able to delegate in order to have sort of a structured environment which runs by itself, while the business owner, which is this agency owner, focuses on scaling.
And when is the right time to hire the first team member, and what roles should be prioritized?
Yeah. I think a lot of agencies I've noticed make the first mistake of hiring too fast or hiring too slow. It's like there's never a good time, right? So from my experience, I've realized contractors are the best sort of way to hire. The reason so is because you're never really confined to anything. You're not really locked down to anything. And you have that flexibility to grow as your business grows. So, when is that perfect time to hire? It would be, when the freelancer or a business owner, in my case, it would be if they can't handle the amount of work and they're like, hey, I need help. I think that would be a really good point to, find contractors, or even before they get to that point, right? But for me, I really focus on lean growth. So ensuring kind of how can agencies grow in a more lean way. When I'm working with agencies, how do they kind of grow when they need to? Meaning, when do they hire the contractors or the developers? I think it's mainly when there's too much work or too much workload that they can't handle.
It also sounds to me like when you are a freelancer, you can do everything yourself once again, but it's also very, very hard to delegate. I know it from my personal experience. I talk to many other people, and we all know that we have to delegate,
Yeah.
but it's so hard. And I feel like it's a huge, huge difference between a freelancer and someone who decides to start an agency, that you have to really be clear on that I am able to delegate, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm good at. That's what I'm not good at, and that's what I have to delegate. And I feel like it's super important to really understand and not overestimate your personal, let's say, superpowers, because I feel
Yeah.
like it also can be a really big mistake when you think that you can do everything by yourself, but at the end of the day, like, I can do that.
Yeah.
What should I
Yeah.
do? And by the way, to your point of freelancers hiring contractors, I hear about these unions of freelancers where there are like, I don't know, 5, 10 different people, and there is always someone who runs the processes, for example, who is responsible for finding clients, reaching out, building a network, etc. And then there are like team, but they are not sitting and getting salary, but they are kind of like collecting when they have a client. And then, okay, we have a client, we work on this. We don't have a client, we work separately. And I feel like it's
Oh,
also kind of like this very fluid agency type.
that's really cool. It's almost like everyone in its own tribe. I've never heard of that. That's super interesting. So everyone kind of is in their own tribe, and that's a very good model because at
You
the
know,
end
it's,
of the
it,
day, yeah.
it's like Transformers. So basically, there are different
Yeah.
cars that are riding everywhere, but then if something
Yeah.
coming up, they're connecting, they're fighting the evil. So,
That's
but
genius.
in this way, they're working with client. So, I'm curious, how should an agency structure its client onboarding process compared to a solo freelancer's approach? Like, what is the main difference?
Yeah. So the way I get clients, I'm the way I'm kind of envisioning this question is, how I get clients and how my clients get clients, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
the way I get clients is, you know, networking,
Mhm.
LinkedIn, kind of networking and connecting with different agencies I want to work with and understanding what they do, figuring out, if they have a process, if they have a need for a developer, kind of understanding the scope of that, and feeling the waters. It's a very similar case for agencies, I feel. Um, you know, I feel like a lot of established agencies, because they're established, they have a lot of inbound and they have that source of like kind of referrals and word of mouth that really gets out to bring in those bigger clients and bigger ticket projects. In terms of smaller agencies, I've noticed it's a very similar process. So
Mm.
a lot of these agencies owners, they're going to these networking events, they're going to these um, like any of these events that they can find. They go to trade shows, whatever it is, to network, and that's where they kind of get the most out of it. I've noticed for those bigger projects. Obviously, those smaller tiers, it works by kind of inbound or cold calling or cold emails, but generally, when you're looking at those meaty projects, it's networking.
So basically, it's pretty much similar to a freelancer. So networking for agencies, networking for freelancers, and what I hear is that it's one of the biggest channels of incoming clients, talking to people, connecting with them, building relationships. And what about advertisement?
Yeah, so definitely I myself, freelancers that I've spoken to, I haven't come across a lot that advertise slash really advertise themselves as a brand, right?
Yeah.
We're really focused on, how do we close that next dollar? How do we close that next client? Not really how do we spend more, get the client, right? So we're not really thinking of it as like a business. We're thinking of it as like an individual. It's almost like, when we're applying for a job, let's say we want to apply to a really big tech company, we're not going to put an ad out there saying, "Hey, please hire me," to all of the work employees there, right? It'll be, I mean, that's a very unique and a creative idea, but I haven't seen a lot of freelancers really advertise themselves that way. Agencies definitely have like a marketing slash advertising budget. I've seen a lot on LinkedIn. Social media is mainly one, but generally from what I've noticed, LinkedIn seems to be sort of that main connector.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Still, even for agencies. So there are humans everywhere.
Exactly.
You can't remove LinkedIn from the equation now.
No. It's the bread and butter.
So what are the most common mistakes that people make when they start an agency?
Yeah. I think the number one mistake a lot of people make is the hiring process. So I've seen a lot of agencies go south, because of the wrong hires, or because they hired at the wrong time, or they hired when they didn't have the influx of clients, or they had to kind of go through that realm of hiring and firing, right? So ensuring your landscape and kind of understanding the ecosystem you're in, understanding, the number of clients you have, and really understanding the numbers. I think that's number one for at the very beginning,
Mhm.
knowing your numbers, knowing when to hire, having your process down. That will ensure you won't make that mistake of that agency evaporating. And I think for anyone that's getting to start an agency, it doesn't really come from like, I'm going to start an agency. I think, I've seen stuff like that where, a lot of, there's agencies where team members working at different large organizations or
Mm,
large, agencies bring in the clients together. They bring in the different power heads and make a really powerhouse agencies. But there's also agents that are really built up from the ground, like, a freelancer trying to become an agency or whatnot. And really, it boils down to learning all the steps that we currently are as a freelancer, applying that. And as I said, having those processes down, making sure you hire at the right time, um, knowing your numbers, being very diligent with the numbers. I think overall, you'll make sure that you won't make any mistake of that agency evaporating.
and I feel like it's a chicken egg problem, because like
Yeah,
whether to hire or not to hire is, I guess that you have to have a feeling, like, or
yeah.
or any other signs that you have to hire right now, or you don't have, like from your experience, from what you've seen, are there any other signs, or it's more just an internal feeling?
Yeah, it's whenever agencies like they come to me and they're like, "Hey, we need to hire," or we need you to help us look for a developer, or we need we need to grow. It's usually when they have an influx of projects or
Mm-hmm.
an influx of you know work that they can't handle at the moment. So it's almost like an urgency, right? And that's when I'm like, hey, like let's take a step back. Like right now we're thinking on that urgency of like we have all these influx of projects. Like a full time doesn't make sense. Contractor learning, like how do we develop a process so we can divide this into pieces and hire a contractor. So what happens after all those projects are finished? Like you're left with multiple developers full time,
Yeah.
not a lot of work. So making sure you have a process where it's you're not really hiring on emotion in a sense.
Got it. And what advice would you give to a freelancer who just starting or just want to start their journey as an agency owner?
Oh man, advice. I would say good luck. I
Good
mean,
luck. Yeah,
good luck,
exactly.
and no, good luck in the best way, right? Good luck. Like it is such an awesome journey for freelancers to, run an agency, right? It's like the most kind of seamless and the jivey business that you can start, right? Because at the end of the day, you've done it for so long, and it's something that you're really good at, and in and out. I think the number one advice I would give is just make sure you have a really solid process in getting projects and getting clients. I think just because you have that one big client or that one big project, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to build a team and have an agency. You need to really have a foundation on influx of clients, how that works, how to have a pipeline of work. So that should never be a worry. Like influx of work should never be a worry of an equation. If that's nailed down, then everything else will kind of fall in place.
Yeah, and Sam, I wish to have the sky as the limit, but time is the limit to our conversation. And the final question: what is your favorite food?
Oh man, my favorite food. It would have to be. I'm sure you've got this a lot. Pizza.
Yay! Welcome to the pizza team. Finally, yes, I'm collecting the pizza team. So one day we can all gather and have a big, huge, very tasty pizza together. So we'll see. And
Yeah.
and before that, what is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn, so you can reach me out, add me. I'm always open. Yeah. LinkedIn.
And thank you so much for sharing your experience, Sam. And it's been such a pleasure to hear and learn from you.
Yeah, anytime, Yuri.
And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button, 5 stars, and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.